Hello, aviators. This is an odd intro, a little different than what we normally do. We recorded the episode you're about to watch last week, I believe it was, or maybe the week before, and we didn't realize at the time this is actually our 50th episode, and that's something. You know, I mean, I don't know. Of course, we wanted it to go this far, but I mean, the fact that it's gone this far and we've sat here and done 50 of these things, and we have a following now, and the subscribers are building, and the podcast is being downloaded on iTunes, like whatever, more than I don't. Just we're so grateful and thankful for all of you.
Absolutely.
And if all of this just helps one of you become a pilot faster and cheaper, it was all worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. So keep tuning in. We selected this episode coming up to be our 50th because we think it is a very interesting and informative episode. So please enjoy it.
Hello, aviators, and welcome to the Pro Pilot Playbook podcast, where we bring you the knowledge and tools to enable you to become a pilot faster and cheaper. I'm Sean Ritchie.
And I'm Mike Martin.
And thank you for joining us again. Now, this week, the title, we were reluctant to do this one, but it kind of ties into what we were just talking about with a couple weeks ago with the American Airlines pay raise.
Right.
I think it was Zach's question about, am I going to make enough money to pay back this loan? And I think that's what sent us over the hump to go ahead and do this, because it is an important part of what we see in our day to day.
Absolutely.
Not only in our personal lives, but the folks around us we work with, our colleagues. And and that is the side hustle. Pilots are notorious for having side gigs, side businesses, maybe working in an entire other job. This career field just lends it to it. It lends itself to that because, most of us make a good amount of money, which allows you to throw money towards, invest in something. Like that. And we have way more time off than actually the only people I know that have as much time off as we do are firemen.
Yeah. And I do know some pilots are also firemen.
Exactly.
So you could do that. Yeah. I mean, I think this is going to be one of our most valuable podcasts I think that we've made. When I think back, Sean and I met 20 plus years ago. And one of the things that attracted us together is we were both, looking to do things on the side and help build our careers and make extra money and things like that. And what I found out is that's a common theme with most pilots. And this is truly a huge benefit of the job, because the job, you can't necessarily control when you work, but you don't work that much, and you need to do something in your off time. And if you really think about it, there's many other things you can do in your off time. You can still enjoy flying, and for a lot of guys, the flying part is almost like a vacation from all the other stuff you're doing, because your job it's just so enjoyable.
Right.
So
I always joke that we were talking about the Jamaica trips or whatever. My neighbors are like, "What? So you haven't worked in 3 days and you have to work tomorrow, but your work is to fly one leg down to Jamaica and sit for 4 days?" Like, well, yeah. So I always say, I paid attention on career day in high school.
That's it. And our viewers are paying attention now, right, to this video, because you're exactly right. And there's so many things that you can do. We've already made some videos. I know we made the contract flying video. So that's there's lots of aviation related things you can do to make extra money. One of the main ones is you can fly other people's airplanes at other companies when their pilots are in training or they're sick or on vacation, and then you can get paid very handsomely during for a day rate, $1,000 to $2,000, sometimes even more a day to fly those trips. And that's a very easy extra money thing that you can do. There's also, a lot of different types of flying jobs have overtime, and you can pick up extra trips and do extra things. But what we wanted to focus on in this video is, what non-aviation things have we ran into, and what do we do? Obviously, we have the entrepreneurial spirit. We're doing this for you guys. This is one of our most fun things that we do. But we do some other things also. Sean, I'll let you start. I mean, because your latest venture that you're into is really, really interesting. So
actually, and I want to talk about that actually, but there is, as after we hit the record button, we were sitting here before we hit the record button, we were saying, let's see, what are some of the things the other guys do, whatever. And we hit record, and now everything's flooding in. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I fly with a guy, if you were talking about the contract work, and there's several side gigs you can do within the aviation world. I fly with a guy who does aircraft appraisals on the side.
Oh, yeah.
And he's even doing jets, not just little Cessnas or something. And you come in and you appraise one of these jets. I mean, that can be some big money. And then you get an aim out there to some of these brokers and stuff. This guy has always got an airplane to go appraise, or two when he's not flying. And then the other thing this guy does, this same guy, he's a retired United pilot, and he has been hooked up. He did one of these accidentally a few years back, being an expert witness in a court case because somebody ran an airplane into the hangar wall or something and damaged it enough. The insurance company got involved and hired an attorney and blah, 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 blah. So he did one of these things a few years back. Now he's getting calls constantly from attorneys all over the country wanting him to come in and be an expert witness to talk about such and such. Well, this student, ran a prop into the runway because he landed on the nose wheel, whatever. That's just one of the things he was recently reading. But the other thing is I have a guy in Columbus I know who quit flying. He was flying for Scott's, like the lawn care, fertilizer, grass seed company. They're based in Columbus, Ohio. He was flying their Falcon 900
with the green trim.
Yeah, exactly.
Striping. Yeah, I've seen
that.
Anyway,
he left aviation to go become an attorney, to actually go to law school. Now he's wanting to get back into aviation and just be a pilot full time and do aviation law on the side.
Wow.
So that's great. Yeah, that's like some Leonardo DiCaprio pilot and attorney stuff.
That is cool. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people get into aircraft management, aircraft consulting, aircraft brokerage. Obviously a lot of guys, you can skip your CFI, but a lot of professional pilots get that and they maintain that. And then, on the weekends, for extra money, they may teach people. You can become a designated examiner that give check rides.
Oh, yeah.
All these things pay, decent amount of money. Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. And I've come across guys over my 27 years of doing this that one guy owned a Subway restaurant on the side, and that's one of those things. That's an investment. He's not there working every day. He's got a manager there, and he's got to step in once a week and make sure nobody's robbing him or something. But
the reason you're bringing that up is because you do that.
Exactly. So
tell them about your venture.
Okay, all right. So we're here in Cincinnati, and I don't know any of you guys watching, guys or girls, are familiar with sensory deprivation therapy, which is the floating. It's often called. Joe Rogan talks about this a lot. He's really into it. And basically it's this pod with 150 gallons of highly salinated water in it, Epsom salt. And it's got so much salt in it, just like, you float on top of it. And that Epsom salt's getting in your body. It's helping you there. And there's no light, there's no sound. And you're just in there. It feels like you're floating in space and blackness and nothing. And it's got too many benefits to get into. But anyway, I was into this. I was fascinated by this, and I had done some floating a couple times while I was on the road, and I started realizing that, man, if I got this kind of passion for this, I got the means to do it. I'm going to put one of these in Cincinnati. So I own a float spa here in Cincinnati, but I don't work there. I have people that work for me, and I'm kind of I'm still the boss, but I don't, it doesn't cost me much of my time. But this is a
Right.
great example. But it's, low time, high reward.
Right.
And this is the kind of things, if I was working a normal 9 to 5, or even 9 to 5 doesn't even exist anymore, especially if you're a salary employee at a Fortune
Right.
500 company, it's more like 7 to 6 every day, 5 days a week. I mean, you don't have time or energy or possibly even the extra income to do something like this.
Right.
So
Right.
I feel very
And
fortunate that
it is really nice. I mean, tell them where it is so they can look it up. It's something to be
yeah,
proud
yeah.
of.
For those of
It's
you,
very nice.
yeah, whatever. We'll drop a plug here. Yes, it's any of you in Cincinnati watching. It's called the Float Loft, and it's over in Westchester off Tylersville Road.
Yeah.
But there you go. As far as
There you go. Cool. No, they might be curious to look at it.
but guys,
They
over the
might,
years, go ahead, Mike.
they might steal your idea though and open them up.
Oh yeah. Stay away from Cincinnati, y'all. That's my territory. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to put a second story it's a even bigger area of town that's up and coming here. That's hopefully this year I'll get that going. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff you could set yourself up to the point where if something happened to your flying career, you poke your eye out working in the yard or something, you will be fine because
Right. Yeah.
you got this other stuff going on. But over the years, what I was going to say is over the years, these guys run into guy. I mentioned the Subway restaurant thing, guys doing all kinds of oddball stuff. One of the guys that works for us now, he repairs boats. He's got a boat repair shop. When he's not
cool.
out flying the hawker, guys are bringing his boats over to change the oil, or, hey, it's making this noise. Can you do this? Whatever. He's got a full on business. Now that is his time. He's trading
Right.
time for money. That's not an investment, but it's a side hustle.
Yeah.
What else?
Pilots love boats and motorcycles.
Oh yeah. I mean, you put a bunch of pilots in a room and yeah, the subjects are all going to be the same: boats, motorcycles, cars, and most
Airplanes.
women. Airplanes.
Oh,
But yeah, what else? A lot of real estate stuff. Which Mike, I know that's your baby. But
Yeah.
I've flown with
You
guys
were
that have done brokers, mortgage brokers. We're in the cockpit, whatever, and this guy's trying to get this guy to sign on to this whatever. And like, you doing real estate? You selling houses? He's like, nah, man, no, I'm not selling houses anymore. I moved on to mortgage broker. And I mean, just all over the place. These guys are doing all kinds of stuff.
You did a video business for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Which helped us out with this course. Yeah.
Right. And this Zoom meeting isn't necessarily a good example of whatever the entire course. Right.
The Pro Pilot Playbook is filmed very nicely, and that was all based off of your video experience, right?
Yeah, shooting weddings and stuff. I've always been a nerd when it came to the video editing and photography stuff, and had a dark room, or when I was in the military, the other guys are running around partying and whatever, and I'm down in my basement, developing black and white photos, whatever. But it allows you to turn your passions into another profit stream, is what this industry does.
Yes, totally.
For a pilot.
20 years ago when we first started flying together, I'd be like, hey, you want to do this weekend or whatever? And you'd be like, oh, I got a wedding. And then finally I'm like, how many friends does this guy got? He's always getting married. I'm like, or somebody's always getting married that he knows. And then I asked you, and you're like, no, I photo weddings. I video them and stuff.
Yeah. But
Good.
Mike, you're into, I mentioned a lot of guys are in the real estate. That's you're made, and you're not even, you do the realtor stuff, but you're
Right.
not even, it's not like you've been doing it forever, and it's not like you dabble in it. You're like most likely one of the best realtors in town here, and it's, it's like your side gig kind of, or maybe flying's your side gig.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people ask that, but yeah, no, I got interested in real estate, just all kind of aspects of it. I've been involved in obviously sales flipping, rentals, short-term rentals, all different types of investing. But basically, yeah, what happened is I got my CFI in 2000, and then so that's 23 years ago. And then right after that, shortly, 9/11 happened, and things got really bad for aviation. And I'm like, man, I need to look into possibly another career path. So I became a real estate agent. And then about that time, the government did a lot of things to stimulate housing, lowered interest rates, all that kind of stuff to stimulate the economy. And housing got pretty good while piloting was kind of going down and housing was coming up. So I felt that they worked really well together. And then as technology evolves, being a realtor and is people think of it as you load them up in your car and you show them houses and things, but that's actually a small part of the job. Most of it's paperwork and transaction coordination and dealing with problems. And if you have listings, you don't usually show them, other realtors show them. So when I was a corporate pilot, I wasn't in town all the time, but I still could handle a lot of business because I had all this downtime. So I started hiring other realtors to work underneath me. My wife became licensed. And then that way, if a customer called and they wanted to look at a house and I was on a trip, I could just send one of my assistants. I've had several different assistants to go show the property. And then if they liked it, then I would handle the negotiations and everything on the road. And then, that grew into a pretty successful real estate business where I have several agents working for me, and I've done all aspects of sales. Yeah, so and I've won some awards in Cincinnati and had some top producing team numbers and things. But so it's been very fun. And then I also learned a lot about real estate investing, and I know Sean does investing too. It's very, very common among pilots. Actually, one of my niches is, pilots are a tight-knit community, and most of the pilots in Cincinnati know me. And about half my real estate business is actually pilots. I'm just kind of known as the guy in town that sells houses and flies planes. So that's worked out really well. So then I got into rentals and flipping, and I had some, I have long-term rentals, apartments, things like that. And then my latest venture in the last 5 years has been the explosion of Airbnb.
Nice.
I got some cool downtown spots in Cincinnati that I rent. I'm an Airbnb super host. And then I rolled that into a house in Florida. So I've got a nice house by the beach in Florida that Sean and I were supposed to meet at to film some
Right. Yeah, this was supposed to be being done there, but
yeah, and that's been a wonderful business venture. I think Sean will eventually get into it too. But basically, you can own these homes and produce way more rent by renting them nightly than you can renting them long term. And you can actually generate income off of those, and you can buy nicer properties, and you can use the properties. And with a flexible job like we have, you can when you're not working, you have the ability to I can go to Florida and use my house, or sometimes I'm in Florida for business, and instead of staying in a hotel, I'll stay in one of my properties there. And there's a lot of benefits. The house in South Florida, there was a hurricane that hit it, and thank God I didn't get much damage, but it coincided with maintenance event that we had on our airplane. So I was off. So immediately after the hurricane, I was able to go down and work on the house. I was actually down there for 10 days, getting everything straightened out. And you could never do that with a normal job. A normal person can't just quit their banking job because their house got hit by a hurricane in Florida. So most of that, I don't use any management companies. Most of that Airbnb stuff can all be done on your phone from anywhere. So you can communicate with the guests, make sure they're checking in, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it really goes really well with it. So the point of this is not to brag about what we're doing, because Sean and I aren't abnormalities. I mean,
Right.
We've got the Pro Pilot Playbook. We're doing all this stuff. I mean, you could search the internet. You can see pilots doing all different type of courses to help with flying. Most pilots are doing something, even if it's extra.
Some of them just go back to being a flight instructor again. They missed that. Right over this little airport right next to me, there's 2 Allegiant captains that are over there teaching young people how to fly, because they love it. And that's not a lot of money, but
yeah,
get you out of the house. I mean, I guess what I was going to say, when you were talking about, we're not bragging, we're not the abnormality in this situation. This is common. when you mix a decent income level with only working 2 or 3 days a week, you know what? You come up with stuff to do. And
Yeah,
I myself, am always coming up with some goofy crap to try, from selling t-shirts on
that's
Facebook
why we all
to
love you, man.
selling t-shirts on Facebook to importing stuff from China and putting it on Amazon, whatever. I mean, you name it. I love that aspect of my career. And it allows me to dabble in all these little side things, and I absolutely love it.
Yes, yes. And another key nugget of this video, maybe for some people watching, the most important thing you can take away from this. And I know people that do this. There's a lot of people watching this video that are thinking of jumping into aviation as a second career. I mean, there's tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
Start thinking about in your mind how you can continue your first career once you become a pilot and you have this off time. I see a ton of that. There's somebody, a good friend of mine, that's doing this now. That you could even possibly transition out of your old job once you become a pilot and then go back there as a consultant, or maybe you've always dreamed of your like you said, you mentioned a guy working in an auto shop as a mechanic, and you always wanted your own auto shop. Maybe it's a high-end detail like this guy you mentioned to me off camera. Well, you can make that step to move into flying. Then once you get your flying career established, and in this market you can do that pretty quickly, then you could then have the money and the capital to start that shop on your own,
Right.
so there's a ton when you really think about it. And maybe you're torn because you like what you do now. You like flying and you think you would like that better, but you're torn because you enjoy what you do now. Well, the answer to that might be you may be able to do both
Mm-hmm.
and make double the amount of money that you're making now.
Right. What were you talking about? There's a cop, whatever, a lot of police forces do this
Right?
now. They have some of them call it a reserve police officer, some of them call it a part-time police officer. But, these guys, I think we had one of these guys email us or something or whatever. They wanted to be a pilot. They were currently a cop, career police officer. They left being a cop to go chase down being a pilot. And then they went back to being a police officer part-time. That stuff happens. But we had somebody working, what's that guy? I don't know if he was still working for Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble's here in Cincinnati, and
Yeah.
for those of you who are not aware, Procter and Gamble makes probably 30% of the products sitting in your, grocery store shelves, as far as, like personal care type stuff,
Right.
lotions and toothpaste and whatever, all that kind of stuff. Procter and Gamble, they're based here in Cincinnati, and this guy worked there for a full career and then transitioned into flying, and he was still consulting with them back and forth because he was so good at what he did. He was a department head or something.
Right.
He was still working with them, probably getting paid more because now he's a consultant.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that is not unheard of and is very common in this industry.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing when you
But it just
think about
goes
it.
with Zach's question a couple weeks ago, but this would have been way too long of a podcast to put that into his thing. The
Right.
money, he was that guy was worried about paying back the money. Remember, paying back his loans by the time he turned 65 and had to retire.
Right.
Um, absolutely, it wouldn't be a problem. Especially
No,
with
no.
this going.
And I think one of the greatest benefits too to being a pilot, and this is before COVID, when work from home was pretty rare. I mean, all pilots really work from home, really. I mean, there's not an office for you to go into. You go to the plane and you fly it, and the rest of the time you're at your house. And yeah, you may have duties, to do, but it's all done at home, and that just gives you the ultimate flexibility, in doing that. And I think what I could stress to people is, I mean, I feel like doing all these things that I do, the real estate sales, the property management, the pro pilot playbook, of course, and then the short-term rentals and Airbnb stuff. I still, even combined with my flying job, probably work just about the same amount as somebody that has a regular 40-hour a week job.
Sure, absolutely.
Wouldn't you say the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, I have most of my stuff set up to be an investor, somebody that's outside pulling strings, not making it part of my day to day. I was very
Right.
specific, and I did not want to, because some guys, they get into this side hustle thing, and I'm not just talking about pilots. I'm talking about like my neighbor who thought they needed a storefront to sell their little arts and crafts stuff. What they've done is created a second job for themselves that
Right.
they got to
Right.
trade their time for money. And uh, to to answer your question, Mike, I think I still don't work as much as a normal 9 to 5 guy.
Right.
But we are divested, and if one of these things we have going falls apart, we'll be
Right.
fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so would a lot of these other guys doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and as long as you know where your priorities are at. I mean, flying has always been my career and my passion, and I would never let anything that went with any of those other businesses ever cause me to ask off or miss a trip or anything like that because of that. Or as long as you have the ability to prioritize everything that you're into, and then it's true with a work-life balance. You don't want to be gone all the time flying, and then as soon as you come home, you're working at your spa or whatever you're running. As long as you set it up in a smart manner, it can just be a tremendous, tremendous rewarding thing for this profession, and it
Yeah.
can't be overlooked. That's why I wanted to make this video.
I just thought of more of them. There was a guy when
Yeah.
I flew for the airlines, he did these custom leather bags. That was back when everybody did these chart cases.
Yeah.
There was a few products out there. Most of us guys, we were all, at that point in our career, I just had like the Staples or the Office Max version. It was basically like cardboard covered with pleather. That big rectangular box we had to keep all our charts in. Well, there was this guy at the airlines. He was making leather. He did leather work, and he was making these custom leather ones with these fancy buckles. They looked amazing. Then I just ran into a guy at Flight Safety. This guy works at Flight Safety, and he has a whole website, and he's selling them on whatever. He sells these pilot socks. I could run whatever their pilot socks, like with tag remove before flight, or like airplanes or clouds on them. Fancy dress, something you wear with dress pants. But he did. Yeah, it's all over the board. I mean,
I flew with a guy who had a machine shop in his basement, and he made, he was formerly an engineer. He made some sort of aerospace tools. I flew with a guy that had a coating, he a business where he did this.
Oh, the computer stuff. Yeah.
No, actually, like painting parts, like a coating of metal.
Oh, coating. Like okay, got it.
Yeah, all that, man. But there's a lot of opportunity there, and I want our viewers to really think about, if they do launch their career, how this could benefit them, in a positive.
Absolutely.
Or just a charitable business, if you have a passion with a charity, and you're working full time, you may not have time to do the volunteer work that you really want to. And
that is a good point.
Yeah, this may give you.
That's something. You know what? I was just having this conversation a couple months ago. I worked at we were talking about doing charity work, and I worked this soup kitchen thing one time, and man, that I want to do that again. That makes you feel so good doing stuff like that.
Yes.
And there's probably a ton of people out there that would like to do something like that, but no, they got to work the 9 to 5. So then if you're doing something like that, now it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'm like, I got too much stuff broken around the house for me to run off and spend half a day doing that. I got to fix this toilet.
Yes.
And, this really allows you to do stuff like that.
Right. And another thing is your physical health. I mean, people say, oh, you're a pilot, you have to stay in shape and everything. Well, when you work 40 hours a week and you're working 8 to 5, you really don't have a lot of time to be at the gym or go running. I go run 5 miles. It takes an hour. I run slow. I'm letting everybody know I'm a slow runner, but I mean, that's a lot of time, so, if you got to be at the office at 8, you got to get up way early to do that. And then you end up not doing it, and you do the same thing. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
There's nobody in the gym when we're there except retired people and single mom, or not single people, moms, that drop their kid off at the daycare.
The stay-at-home moms. That's my gym time. I am surrounded by moms.
Yeah. No, you're right, because we're there at 10 a.m. or whatever.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Which is why we started this podcast at 11 a.m.
Exactly. I did just get back from the gym. Yeah.
It is. It's a really, really unique thing about the job. It takes this work from home a step further, and use your mind and be creative and think of the opportunities that this could unfold for you, and it could really be great for yourself and your family.
Right. Yep. Yeah. It's still, I don't know. We can't stress it enough. I was just trying to think of a way to put this into words, but I was just talking about that Jamaica, going down to Jamaica. So that's your job, you're sitting down in Jamaica for 4 days. I'm still surprised at the people around me in my life still haven't figured out that, only work 2 days a week, and, you got all this different stuff going. And to me, it's just like, that's the way things are, because everybody else I work with is doing the same thing. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing, but it just boggles people's minds. It's something that your high school, this is information. That's why we worded the name of the podcast, the unspoken truth about pilot pay, side hustles, because your high school guidance counselor isn't going to have this kind of intel. They're not going to know this information.
No.
That's Sean, what you got you and Mike. That's what you got me and Mike for.
That's right. I can remember 20 years ago being outside in the middle of summer in Marseille, France at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I was jet lagged, so it wasn't like I was tired. I was just up because we had just landed there, negotiating a home inspection on a house in Cincinnati, and the client had no idea.
Right.
We were arguing over a roof or something, and I'm thinking, with this technology and the way that we travel, I mean, a lot can be done in your off time. And I wasn't, interfering with my job over there. I mean, we were there for several days, and we had just landed, and I had was jet lagged, but people don't know. I mean, when you're talking to them on the phone, they don't know where you're at, and they just want to get business done, and you have the time to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully this opened your guys' eyes to, or anybody watching, just to the possibilities, like Mike was just saying. It was not meant to be some type of brag, whatever. As a matter of fact, I mentioned we didn't want to do this. I didn't think that, it was very humble, but it is an important aspect of this career field, a very important one.
Absolutely. And, the channel's exploding. We want to help people. We got a lot of big things now coming up for the channel. We had several hours of meetings today thinking about moving forward and where we want to go with this. We're going to try to get in. We got to get into maybe having some guests on. That's our next move on the podcast to kind of bring that to the next level to help you guys. So we really appreciate if you can like and subscribe the podcast, because it really keeps us motivated, and we appreciate all the questions. And your questions inspire podcasts. If you want to directly just email us a podcast that you'd like to see us go over, feel free to do that. That would help us a ton, because we get a lot of our ideas from these podcasts based off your questions. Yeah.
You can do that podcast at propilotplaybook.com. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.